There are secrets buried in time that most of us were never meant to find. One of them comes from Thoth, the ancient scribe of wisdom, who whispered of a living law where words are not merely sounds, but biological commands. Imagine that every phrase we speak is more than expression. It is instruction, received and obeyed by the body itself. Many of you have tried affirmations before. You've repeated phrases of abundance, of health, of peace, only to feel nothing change. The disappointment lingers, as though the promises of self-help were just empty air. But what if the problem wasn't you? What if the missing piece was the way the body actually listens? The forgotten code that explains why most affirmations fall flat, while a few ignite transformation. That is what this video will uncover. We're going to step inside the mystery of speaking directly to your own cells, to your organs, even to the silent glands that govern your emotions and energy. And by the end, you will not only understand the hidden protocol, you will be able to practice it. This is not metaphor. It is not poetry. This is a technique that can reprogram the body at its most fundamental level. And tonight, for perhaps the first time, you'll hear the words the ancients believed could heal. Long before modern science, in the temples of Egypt, there was a teaching whispered as sacred law. Thoth, the keeper of hidden wisdom, called it the living law. His message was simple yet staggering. Words are not just sounds, they are commands, and every command you speak shapes the hidden kingdom inside your body. Think about this. Every cell in your body is like a student in a vast classroom. They don't argue, they don't question. They simply listen to the lessons being repeated day after day. If those lessons are heavy with despair, I am sick, I am tired, I am broken, your cells record that message as truth. They follow it faithfully, just as obedient students do. But if the lessons shift, I am alive, I am strong, I am healing, your body quietly begins to carry out that new curriculum. This may sound like poetry, but it isn't. Modern research calls it the placebo effect. A patient swallows a sugar pill, yet because they believe it's medicine, the body obeys the command. Pain fades, blood pressure stabilizes, wounds close. Belief alone rewrites biochemistry, and if belief alone can do that, imagine what happens when words are spoken with clear intent, rhythm, and emotion. The very tools Thoth called the living law. Science shows us the same pattern. Harsh words, spoken often, release stress chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline, weakening the immune system and inflaming the body. Gentle, empowering words release oxytocin and dopamine, calming the heart, strengthening the mind, even repairing tissues. Words, to your body, are not abstract ideas, they are chemistry. And here's where the story deepens. Every tradition on earth has known some version of this secret. Chants in monasteries, mantras whispered in meditation halls, psalms sung in cathedrals, all are ways of teaching the body to obey a higher command. They weren't just rituals for the soul, they were instructions for the flesh. Thoth's living law tells us that every I am statement is a decree. I am weak becomes law. I am whole becomes law. Unlike human laws, which can be broken, these laws are enforced instantly by your nervous system, by your glands, by the silent river of your blood. So when you place your hand on your chest and whisper, "My heart is calm," your vagus nerve begins to slow your heartbeat. When you say to your skin, "You are radiant," circulation increases, oxygen flows, and your body quietly obeys. It may seem mystical, but it is also mechanical. Words carry vibration. Vibration shapes form. Form becomes life. You are already practicing this law every single day. Every sigh, every complaint, every declaration is a lesson you're teaching your body. The only question is, what kind of teacher have you been? And what kind of lessons will you choose to give your cells from this day forward? If words carry the power to heal, then they also carry the power to wound. And the most dangerous part, most of us cast these silent curses on ourselves without even noticing. Think about the phrases we throw around every single day. This is killing me. That makes me sick. This breaks my heart. We laugh. We sigh, we toss them out as harmless figures of speech. But your body doesn't laugh. It doesn't understand metaphor. To your nervous system, to your glands, to your cells, those words are commands. And like the loyal students they are, they follow orders. Doctors have long known that stress can ulcerate the stomach. But look closer. How often do people under pressure say, "I can't digest this"? Years later, their body literally mirrors the complaint. The heart grows weak under decades of heartbreak. The spine stiffens after a lifetime of saying, "I can't bend anymore." The tongue may joke, but the body is always listening. This is where Thoth's law feels less like mystical poetry and more like a sober warning. Every complaint is a lesson plan. Every phrase, repeated with enough emotion, becomes the curriculum your cells live by. And unlike poison that passes through the body in hours, these invisible commands can linger for years, reshaping organs, rewriting DNA, etching disease into flesh. That's why the ancients guarded their speech as carefully as treasure. They understood that words were spells not in the fairy tale sense, but in the literal sense of to spell something into being. You spell your reality, one phrase at a time. And if the phrases drip with bitterness, anger, despair, the reality you live in will eventually take that shape. Pause for a moment and consider, how many times today did you curse yourself without realizing it? How many times did you mutter, "I'm exhausted, I'm useless, it'll never get better"? Each of those is an order, faithfully carried out by the body. The good news and the reason we are here is that just as negative commands carve paths toward illness, conscious commands can carve new paths toward health. But the first step is awareness. You must hear yourself. You must notice the hidden danger of your daily language, because no medicine can cure what your own words are constantly poisoning. This is why the sages warned, guard your tongue, and you guard your life. If you've ever spoken kindly to a child, you know the way their shoulders relax, their eyes brighten, and their whole posture changes. Your organs respond in much the same way. They are listening, waiting, and ready to follow your lead. Let's begin simply. Place your hand over your heart. Feel its steady rhythm under your palm. Now, instead of treating it like a machine that just happens to be ticking away, speak to it as if it were a living companion. Whisper, "Heart, you are safe. You are strong. You beat in peace." Notice what happens. Sometimes, it's subtle, a deep breath you didn't plan, a loosening of tension you didn't realize you carried. Other times, you may feel warmth spread through your chest, or a surprising wave of emotion. This is your body's quiet way of answering back. The ancients called this true alchemy, not the search for gold in the fire, but the transformation of flesh through word. When you speak, you are not throwing sounds into empty space. You are shaping vibrations that travel through your nervous system, through your bloodstream, through every fiber of your being. You are reminding your cells of their original instruction. Harmony, balance, renewal. Try it with another organ. Lay your hand over your liver and whisper, "Liver, I honor your wisdom. You cleanse me with ease. You heal in harmony." Your liver doesn't argue. It doesn't analyze. Like a faithful student, it takes the lesson and begins to adjust. The beauty of this practice is its simplicity. You don't need years of training or special tools. You only need awareness and sincerity. Speak as though your words matter, because they do. Every phrase is an instruction. Every tone is a frequency. Every breath carries it deeper. So tonight, when you're alone and quiet, choose one organ to honor. Speak to it with kindness, as you would a child who simply needs encouragement. And watch how the body, like a devoted student, responds to the teacher's gentle voice. Martinez was not a philosopher. He wasn't a mystic, or a healer, or even a man who thought much about the unseen. He was a mechanic. His life was spent crouched over engines, lifting metal, twisting his back in ways that only years of labor can demand, until one day, his spine refused to carry him any longer. The pain came sharp at first, then constant. Doctors told him the truth, in the only language they knew: surgery, a risky procedure, no guarantees, and months of recovery that might not even end the pain. For a man who made his living with his hands and his body, It felt like a death sentence, but Martinez wasn't ready to surrender. A friend had whispered to him about an ancient practice, words spoken not into the air, but into the body itself. Skeptical, would desperate, Martinez decided he would give it 40 nights. No medicine, no surgery, just his voice, his breath, and his spine. Each evening, he would lie down in the quiet of his small room. He placed his hand over his back, closed his eyes, and spoke softly into the silence. Spine, you are flexible, you are flow, you bend with life, and you carry me with ease. At first, nothing changed. The pain was still there in the morning, but he kept speaking, night after night, as if he were training an old friend to remember how to dance. By the second week, something subtle began to shift. The stiffness lessened. He could twist just a little more. He could sleep without waking every hour. By the fourth week, Martinez could walk longer distances without collapsing into a chair. His family noticed the change before he did. They saw the way he stood straighter, the way his eyes carried hope again. And then, on the 40th night, Martinez rose from bed with a back that no longer felt like a prison. The pain that once threatened to define his life had melted into memory. His spine had learned a new command, not from a scalpel or a pill, but from his own voice. This was not magic in the sense of fantasy. It was the alchemy Thoth had described thousands of years ago, the living law that words shape biology. Martinez had re-educated his spine, patiently, faithfully, like a teacher guiding a student until the lesson took root. His story carries a message that is larger than his own recovery. Your body is not fixed, not doomed to decay without your say. It can be spoken to, reminded, and even retrained. If Martinez could reclaim his freedom with nothing more than whispered words, then perhaps your own organs, your own cells, are waiting for the same instruction. Most of us think of our glands, thyroid, adrenals, pineal, as silent, automatic machines working in the background without our notice. But what if they're not so silent? What if every word you speak is quietly heard, like a command, echoing through the hallways of your body's hidden network? Take the adrenals, for example, small, triangular glands sitting right above your kidneys. They control your stress hormones, the rush of cortisol and adrenaline. Now imagine what happens when, day after day, you repeat the phrase, "I'm drained, I'm exhausted, I have no energy." Your adrenals aren't metaphorically listening, they are biologically listening. Over time, they begin to adjust their signals downward, releasing less of the very hormones you need to feel alive. Your words become the script, and your glands follow it. The thyroid works much the same way. Speak constantly of fear, of feeling choked up or unable to speak, and your thyroid, nestled in the throat, responds as if those words were a directive. Hormone level shift. Metabolism slows. What we call symptoms may often be the body doing exactly what it was told. And then there is the pineal gland, the mysterious third eye sitting deep in the brain. Ancient traditions, from Egypt to India, described it as a sacred antenna, a receiver of light, rhythm, and intention. Modern science calls it the regulator of sleep cycles. But whether you view it as mystical or medical, one truth stands out. It listens. What you say before you drift into sleep becomes part of the rhythm it keeps. A phrase whispered in those last moments of waking can ripple into your dreams, your hormones, even your healing. Consider Elias, a man burdened with high blood pressure and restless nights. He began each evening with one simple line, spoken directly to his heart. "Heart, you are safe. You beat in peace." Within weeks, his blood pressure began to ease. His sleep deepened, and the constant anxiety that haunted him started to dissolve. His doctors adjusted his medication downward, Puzled, while Elias simply kept repeating his nightly command. This is the hidden truth. Your glands are not mute pieces of tissue. They are antennas, fine-tuned receivers of the vibrational language you speak. Every sigh, every complaint, every blessing becomes a frequency they absorb. And just like antennas, they amplify what they receive, sending signals back out into the bloodstream, shaping your mood, your energy, your very life. So the next time you say I'm tired or I can't take this, pause and remember, you are broadcasting to a network that never stops listening. The words you choose are not just sound. They are orders written into the secret operating system of your body, and your glands, quietly and faithfully, obey. There is a doorway inside your life that almost no one notices. It doesn't appear in daylight, and you won't find it in any temple. It opens only in the quiet 5 minutes before you fall asleep. The ancients called this time the golden hour of the soul, a fragile window when your conscious mind loosens its grip and your subconscious, the keeper of your deepest patterns, becomes wide open. Thoth spoke of it as a threshold between worlds. What you whisper here does not just fade into dreams, it enters directly into the blueprint of your body, like a password typed into the hidden code of your biology. Modern science has its own name for this passage, the theta state, when brain waves slow into a rhythm where belief is absorbed without resistance. In this state, every phrase you speak bypasses doubt and settles into the soil of your cells. Think of it this way: all day long, you may repeat affirmations, mutter complaints, or carry on with casual chatter. But when night comes, the body listens differently. Those final sentences before sleep are not just words, they are seeds, and the soil, perfectly softened by fatigue and transition, takes them in completely. One phrase has carried across generations of seekers, healers, and ordinary people desperate for rest. My body is now entering deep healing. Whisper it slowly. As your eyes grow heavy, let it ride the rhythm of your breath. Inhale the words inward. Exhale into silence. The phrase does not need force. In fact, forcing ruins it. What matters is surrender, trust, and the rhythm of saying it gently until you drift across the edge of sleep. People who practice this small ritual often speak of waking differently. Muscles loosen, sleep grows deeper. Some notice pain lessening, energy rising, or dreams turning luminous with symbols of renewal. From the outside, it might look like nothing more than a bedtime habit, but from within, something profound is happening. The body is obeying. It is rewriting instructions not with pills or surgeries, but with the quietest of vibrations, words breathed into the golden hour. The beauty of this protocol is its simplicity. You don't need years of training, expensive tools, or rare knowledge. You need only 5 minutes, a quiet heart, and a phrase that feels like home. If you can commit to those 5 minutes each night, you are walking through a door that even modern science is only beginning to glimpse. Because every night, before you disappear into dreams, there is a choice. You can carry your complaints with you into sleep, or you can hand your body a new command, a gentle password of renewal. Thoth's wisdom suggests the latter. Whisper it, trust it, and let the night do the rest. Of all the organs in the human body, the heart is the most mysterious. Not only does it beat tirelessly,
keeping us alive with every pulse, it also radiates the strongest electromagnetic field of any organ. Scientists can measure it several feet outside your chest. But long before modern machines confirmed this, Thoth and the mystics of Egypt spoke of the heart as the inner sun, the true center of human life, shining a field of influence that organizes the rest of the body. When you place your hand gently over your chest, you are not only touching muscle, you are touching the sun within you. And when you speak to it, when you say, "Heart, you are peace, you are free," you are giving a command not only to flesh and blood,
but to the invisible field that orchestrates harmony across your whole being. Elias was a man who had lived under the grip of high blood pressure for years. Doctors warned him about medication, about stress management, about diet changes. He tried, but the numbers stayed stubbornly high. Then he began a small ritual, 5 minutes each morning. And each night, he would close his eyes, place his palm over his chest, and whisper those words, "Heart, you are peace, you are free." At first, nothing seemed different, but after weeks, his pressure began to fall. His sleep grew deeper. Friends said he looked lighter, calmer, as though something had been released from within. What had shifted wasn't just numbers on a chart. Elias had given his heart a new rhythm, to follow a command that built coherence instead of chaos. Modern science now recognizes this as cardiac coherence. It's the state when your heart, brain, and nervous system fall into synchronized rhythm, producing calm, clarity, and healing. But to Thoth, this was no new discovery. It was the living law, the recognition that the heart listens and obeys. Speak chaos to it, and it will scatter. Speak peace, and it will radiate harmony throughout the body. This practice doesn't demand hours of meditation or mystical training. It asks only for presence for you to pause, feel your own heartbeat, and offer it a command filled with truth. Just 5 minutes, that's all it takes to remind your inner sun to shine steadily again. When you realize the heart is more than a pump, when you begin treating it as a conscious field, something inside you shifts. Anxiety loosens, stress softens, and what rises is a warmth that feels like freedom, like the release of carrying a heavy load too long. Because in the end, the greatest healing is often the simplest: a hand on the chest, a quiet command, and the deep knowing that your body, your heart, has been waiting to listen all along. Breath is the first thing you did when you entered this world, and it will be the last thing you do when you leave it. Everything in between is measured by that sacred rhythm. Inhale, exhale, life moving through you like a river that never rests. Most of the time, we take it for granted. We breathe shallow, distracted, caught in the noise of daily life. But Thoth taught that breath is not only oxygen, it is the secret language of the soul. Each inhale is a message of life entering you. Each exhale is a release, a letting go of what no longer serves. There is a simple practice, so simple, you can do it right now. Close your eyes for a moment. As you inhale, whisper inside your mind, life flows into me. Feel it filling your chest, moving into every corner of your body. And as you exhale, let your shoulders drop and softly say, I release all that holds me. At first, these may feel like just words, but soon you notice a change. The tension in your neck eases, the mind begins to quiet, the knot in your stomach softens. Anxiety that once felt like a storm starts to fade like morning fog under the sun. What's happening isn't magic in the way we usually think of it. It's biology listening to language carried on breath. Modern science tells us the breath is the one function we can control that directly rewires the nervous system. Slow, intentional breathing calms the vagus nerve, lowers stress hormones, and signals safety to every cell. But Thoth framed it differently. He said each breath is a command air carrying vibration, turning thought into rhythm, rhythm into reality. Imagine every inhale writing a new story of vitality, every exhale erasing the weight of the old one. This is not metaphor, it is practice. Over time, you train your body to expect peace instead of panic, flow instead of tension. You breathe differently, and life itself begins to feel different. For many, this becomes a ritual before bed or a moment stolen in the middle of the day. Inhale, life flows into me. Exhale, I release all that holds me. These words, carried on the most natural rhythm you've known since birth, become your medicine. And maybe that's the greatest secret. You don't have to search for healing outside yourself. The bridge has always been here, waiting, the breath that unites body, mind, and soul. The ancients often spoke of blood as more than liquid. They called it the river of the soul, the current that carries life to every hidden corner of the body. And perhaps they were right, for when the river runs free, we feel alive, energized, renewed. But when it stagnates, everything slows: our thoughts, our movements, even our will to keep going. Most of us don't notice how often our words shape this inner river. We say things like, I feel stuck, I'm blocked, nothing is moving in my life. At first it sounds like mere complaint, but the body listens, the blood thickens, the flow resists, and fatigue sets in like mud clogging a stream. Our words become the very dam we are suffering from. But change the language, and the river changes. One man, tired, heavy, convinced he was running out of life, was taught a simple practice. Each morning, he placed his hand over his chest and whispered, I flow, I flow with ease. My blood moves freely. My life moves freely. He pictured his veins as streams clearing after a storm, the current quickening, sparkling with new light. In a few weeks, the fatigue that had haunted him began to lift. His doctor noticed improvements in circulation, but more than the physical numbers, it was the way he carried himself: shoulders lighter, steps quicker, eyes brighter, that revealed something had changed. By commanding flow, he had remembered how to flow. Modern biology will explain this in terms of stress hormones, blood viscosity, oxygenation, and it's true, but Thoth would tell you the secret is even simpler. Blood is a river that responds to command. Speak stagnation, and you thicken it. Speak flow, and you revive it. Every time you whisper, "I flow," you are not just reciting words, you are breaking the dam inside, letting life rush back into places you forgot were thirsty. And in that rush of renewal, you feel something more than health. You feel rebirth. We're often told aging is a sentence written in stone. Wrinkles, fatigue, memory, slipping away. People accept it as destiny. But what if it's not? What if so much of what we call getting old is just a program we've unconsciously spoken into our bodies for decades? Words like, "I'm worn out," "I'm too old for this," "My body just can't anymore." The body listens, and the script plays out. But Thoth offered a different way: rewrite the script. And one of the most practical tools is what we can call the 30-day protocol. It doesn't require medicine, expensive machines, or anything outside yourself. Just your voice, your attention, and a few minutes each day. The rhythm is simple: morning, afternoon, evening, 3 times a day. You pause and speak a short command, a blessing to your cells. It might be, "Cells, I bless you, you are renewing," or "Body, you are vibrant, you are strong." The words are few, but the repetition carves them deep into the subconscious. Each command is like dropping a seed into the soil of your biology. With daily watering, roots take hold. One woman, exhausted by restless nights and dull skin, tried this for a month. Every dawn she whispered to her body as she stretched awake. At midday, she paused at her desk, closed her eyes, and spoke again. And before bed, she sealed the day with one final command. By the end of 30 days, her sleep had deepened, her face looked brighter, and her lab numbers showed lower inflammation. But beyond the measurements, she felt a new confidence, like she was no longer at the mercy of time, but in conversation with it. Science might call this neuroplasticity or epigenetic signaling. Thoth would call it remembering your authority. Repetition is not just habit, it's engraving. Every day, every phrase, you are chiseling a new story into your cells, one that replaces the unconscious programming of decay with conscious instructions of renewal. This is why the 30-day protocol matters. It's not about instant miracles, it's about training your body the way you would train a loyal horse, through patience and consistent command. At first, the changes are subtle. Then one day, you look in the mirror, or you read a number on a chart, and realize you've been rewriting your future, one word at a time. So ask yourself, what script are your cells reading today? And what will they be reading 30 days from now? If you begin speaking differently now, at the end of all this, the truth is simple. Words are not just sounds, they are codes. Every phrase you speak carries a vibration, a pattern, a living instruction that your body cannot help but obey. For years, many of us have been writing a script of fatigue, of limitation, of decline, without even knowing it. But today, you've been reminded that another script exists. I invite you to begin, not tomorrow, not someday, but tonight. Choose one command, one short phrase, and give it to your body each day for the next 30 days. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be consistent. Even one sentence can begin to rewrite the story your cells are following. If you want a place to start, try the one that so many others have already spoken. I command my body with awareness. Write it now in the comments, not just as a response to this video, but as a declaration to yourself. Let it be the first engraving of a new pattern, because the truth is, the greatest physician you will ever meet does not stand outside of you. That healer lives within your skin, In every organ, every heartbeat, every breath, it has been waiting, all along, for you to call it by name.